We are Geekcentric, and you can be too. Love ya. Stay home safe, guys. Peace.
Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our special Behind the Geeks episode for Marvel Animation's What If Season 3. My name is Justin, and if you're joining us for the first time, well, we are Geekcentric, a podcast covering the world of movies, TV shows, toys, collectibles, gaming, and all things geek-centric. I am very excited for today's episode, which is the last episode of 2024, tentatively. We may have a spoiler-filled episode that may come out for What If, but we don't know if we're going to do that before 2025 or in 2025. So wait to see. But at the moment, this is it. This is our last episode for 2024. Some fantastic interviews to end the year, which has been a year full of interviews. Today, we're talking to some pretty fantastic folks from Marvel Animation's What If Season 3. Nate and I had the opportunity to chat with Bryan Andrews, story writer, director, executive producer, basically the showrunner for What If. He has been there from the beginning, and we got to talk to him about everything from what this season really meant to kind of be the last of the What If. And I will say, it seems like in his mind, it's not a this is the end. It's more like a pause. So you'll listen to the interview and you'll get more of a sense of that. But that's not the only person we talked to. We had the opportunity to chat with Brad Winderbaum. And if you know anything about the MCU and Marvel Studios, you know Brad is a big deal. He works very closely with Kevin Feige. He's executive producer on pretty much all of the movies. He's essentially the head of television and streaming, as well as the head of Marvel Animation. So he's a big deal. And we are so grateful to our friends at Disney Studios Canada for setting us up with these interviews. It's awesome to have the opportunity to get this insight and sort of an inside track talking to someone like Brad, who have their hands so involved in everything that's going on at Marvel Studios. And Brad was an absolute delight. He was excited he was as excited as we were to chat with him, which was really, really great. But like I said, this is our last episode for 2024, tentatively. And we also, we recently just posted our spoiler-free review for Marvel Animation's What If Season 3. That's available now on podcast feed, so you can go take a listen. We're given the first 4 episodes, and we shared our thoughts on performances, the look and feel, which is pretty consistent, but most importantly, what's the vibe of this season? And I think, if the first 2 episodes are already out, if you were watching them, then you kind of already know. We're very excited for the next 4, which will be delivered to us over the next few days. The release strategy has been starting on December 22nd. Each day we get a new episode up until December 29th, which is such a fun strategy. It's such a great way to enjoy the holidays and have new content to watch. So it's really, really great. But look, like I said, we got tons of other stuff on all podcast feeds, so be sure to subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts, and on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/geekcentric. Be sure to check out all of our interviews that we've posted recently and all of our interviews from the past year. 2024 has been awesome. We are so grateful for every opportunity that we have. We're grateful for you, our listeners, and our viewers, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us, and we're looking forward to 2025, let me tell you. But without further ado, let's get to our interviews. First up is our interview with executive producer, director, showrunner, Bryan Andrews. Enjoy.
Hey, Bryan, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us on the Geekcentric podcast. My name is Nate.
And my name's Justin. How you doing?
Hey, good, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for joining us.
We're happy to have you. What If has we're finally here. We're in the third season, the final season. It's taken us and all the fans on some incredible journeys through the multiverse. Looking back on the series, How do you feel it's done its job in expanding or redefining how fans view these incredible heroes within the multiverse?
Oh, well, it's funny, it's I think what it's shown, at least to me, is that anything's possible,
Mhm.
and that it's okay for Marvel to play
Mhm.
and take big swings and do crazy things. It's like because we're able to do anything, right? We can have a hardcore drama episode that ends in absolute tragedy. We can have something that's totally zany comedy, and then all the action and adventure and emotion in between, right? So, it was a truly a playground. And so I mean, final season, yeah, asterisks, who knows? And there's no end to the stuff, right? So as long as there's a fun or compelling or interesting story to tell and a way to tell it, I think, the watcher could always come back, hopefully. I hope.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't think he'll ever leave us.
No,
Yeah.
no,
No.
he's with us always.
Always.
I do love the notion of trying to do each episode with a sort of different vibe to it. Like there's almost like looking at it through the lens of a genre in some
Yes.
instances, and I think that that's so great. But another real impactful part of What If is the animation style, and like
Mm.
we've seen like I Am Groot and X-Men '97, they've gone very different
Yeah.
directions with their animation style. What went into the decisions in finding the look and feel for What If?
Yeah, it's funny too because I think for a hot second we briefly toyed with the idea that every episode would be a completely different art style.
Mm.
Ooh.
That would have just been insanely expensive, right? Because we need different vendors that were capable of doing the different things, and we're just like, oh my gosh! And for the first one out of the gate, we're like, we don't know if we're ready for that. Even though we would love to see, and I think with all the other animated shows that Marvel will be doing, that's where we get our variation of styles, which is awesome. But for us and for me, I wanted to do something that broke away from what animation normally looked like. I wanted to elevate it just a little bit more.
Mhm.
So making it feel a bit more illustrative, not pure comic book, even though that could have been just as fun and just as awesome. And who knows, we might do one if at some point that's like, it totally looks like a comic because we can, right? We can do anything.
Yeah.
But borrowing from some classic American illustrators, mainly J.C. Leyendecker,
Mhm.
and then trying to bring that aesthetic in a little bit, and then also cinematically shoot everything, like paying attention to pretend lenses, right? It's animation. There are no lenses really, but it's like, well, what does it look like if we shot it all anamorphic? And let's really play with the light and the values and the cinema because that's what I was raised on, trained on, and that's what I always try to bring to the table. And I mean, we did a shit ton of that in, Samurai Jack.
Yeah.
And the idea to bring some more of that to this, it's like I try to bring it to anything I do.
Yes. It gives it that
So
levity, right? It gives
yeah,
it levity
yeah,
of that
yeah. And
cinematic scale.
for sure. And it was great. And they were like, yes, let's do that. So we did it. But, we didn't have any time to develop the look. It was like, start production and make the look. We're like, yeah. So every year we're trying to like upgrade it just a little bit to hopefully get to what we all had always wanted. And who knows, maybe if we end up doing more what ifs in the future, maybe we'll one of these days we'll finally get there. I still think it looks great, but there's plenty of things that are still like, yo, but we still could do this. So who knows? We try.
Well, we've loved the sort of hybrid 2D, 3D style that feels very familiar to the MCU, but it's holistically fresh
It helps, yeah, and that's one reason why I think Kevin and company, they liked what we were talking about because it didn't feel like a complete disconnect from the MCU because in the beginning, right, we have Bryan Andrews helping design our characters, and right, he designed the costumes, all that stuff for the live action movies, and then he helped us with this stuff, and because it's so illustrative, and because J.C. Leyendecker glorifies the human form, in his paintings they almost look like Steve Rogers superheroes anyway. You know what I mean? Very Americana in that capacity. So it lends itself perfectly for what we were trying to do. So, it all worked out. It's great.
Awesome.
Well, speaking of elevating each season, you can tell we might be fans of the X-Men.
Yes.
And we got the tease
Yes.
of Storm joining What If. What was it for you and the team finally getting to bring a member of the X-Men into this series?
That was awesome. I mean, I wish we could have brought more in, but we had to hold off because we didn't have the rights to the movies at that time when we were doing some of these, and then X-Men '97 was going to be coming out. But it's funny in hindsight now that it's all come out. It's like, dude, what? why are you guys being so careful? We should have had a lot more. It's like we could have had what ifs with Wolverine and Gambit and like you name it, you know what I mean? Rogue, like it's like anybody. It's like it's the sky's the limit. So if there are any things in the future at some point, I think if this is a pause, I hope it's just a pause, not a super final farewell.
Okay. Okay.
But if it is a pause, which don't quote me, that's just me hoping. Um,
Us
it would
too.
be nice to be able to bring some of these other characters in and be more free with who we do stuff in. And I always want to do ones with that had never been in an animated show or in the movies. Like I kept trying to get Beta Ray Bill in there, and they're just like, no, because one day we might want to do him in live action. I'm just like, when? And this is fun stuff on the side. It's okay. Let's just play.
Right. Right. That totally makes sense.
But I love it. But having Storm in there is fantastic, and I look forward to the reactions of people when she's in her episode. So people can really enjoy it. I hope so.
Well, it kind of goes hand in hand with the question about the multiverse that you're kind of touching on with bringing in characters and so on and so forth. But with a focus that the MCU is focusing on the multiverse, did you ever feel the need to align the series more closely with the live action events, or was it always a goal just to kind of keep this as a standalone that sort of introduced and played with this idea of what a multiverse could look like?
I think it's more about like let's play. Like in the beginning, they wanted to make sure that the audiences knew that it's attached to the MCU, that the cinematic universe has all these potential, possibilities out there, right? So that's why the first season it hews very closely to certain films and then varies a little bit differently with some little subtle things. And season 2 we expanded out from that. And then season 3 we expanded out even further. I always thought we could just jump, no, we don't need to be like the movies. Let's just freaking go for it. It took a little while for them to, I think, warm up to that, but now that they're seeing it, they're like, oh yeah, 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 which is great. But also it's a bummer because like, oh, but now we're done. It's just like, but dudes, now you know what we could really do. We should like just go for it. That's why I hope, in the future they'll be like, okay, let's do something else that's crazy. Because I think people do love the crazy because it really is, they just, you don't get that from the movies, right? It's something completely different, you know what I mean? So yeah, it'd be rad.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. We can ask what if.
Yes. What if?
We're feeling a little nostalgic about this series already. Just again, in the coming to the pause, maybe.
Yes, maybe a pause.
For these past 3 seasons, is there a moment that has stood out to you that has maybe for you defined what if really is?
That's a tough question because I think there's a lot of episodes that have little bits that really address that, right? But I think like the culmination of season 1 when Infinity Ultron hears the Watcher,
Yeah.
And turns and looks and he's just like, I freaking see you, dude, and like the Watcher's like, what the heck? I think that like allowed audiences to know that, hey guys, all bets are off. You have no idea what could possibly be coming down the pike, right? So I think that set the stage for us to do more crazy stuff, in the future, which I thought was great. And even the Doctor Strange episode ending in a tragedy, you know what I mean? At that moment, everyone going like, I can't believe they ended it like that. It's like, yeah, man, some universes don't end well, and that's cool. And that was always something that we wanted to do and show. And the show allowed us to do that. And I think that's great, and it makes people realize that we're checking into one of those stories. There's no safety net. You don't know what may or may not happen at any given moment. And I think that's a little bit freeing, which is I like the fact that when some people watch the episodes, some people purposely don't want to watch the opening credits because they don't want to see the names of people who are in it.
Yeah.
Because they don't want anything to give anything away, but that's the spirit of what it is. It's like, hey, let's just cozy up to the fireplace and let me tell you a tale, right? It's like that's what we're all trying to do for everyone. And the fact that people are allowing themselves to be told a story, I think is great. I think things have gotten to the point where everyone's trying to find out the story before they hear the story. And I think that diminishes an audience's ability to truly just be a kid again and just hear a story and just have an honest reaction to it,
I love that.
So I think those moments show that that's what if can do, and that's what if is. You know?
It's funny because we just spoke with Brad Winderbaum, and that was his answer was Infinity,
Yeah.
looking at the
Yeah.
at Watto. So you guys are right
They're
there.
aligned, yeah.
Hilarious.
Well, look, I'm with this pause, I'm sure that there's more stories to tell, and hopefully we'll have another opportunity to talk with you. But we just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the Geekcentric podcast. We're thrilled that at the end of the season, at the end of the series thus far, or pause, we have had this time to chat with you. We hope we get the chance to do it again. And
Awesome.
cheers.
So do I.
Happy holidays.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Next up is our interview with the head of streaming, television, and animation at Marvel Studios, Mr. Brad Winderbaum.
Well, I can't believe I get to say this, but welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, Brad Winderbaum. It's such a privilege to have you on.
I made it to Geekcentric.
You did it.
Dude. Yeah, man. We're thrilled. My name's Justin.
And my name's Nate. Yeah, we're stoked to have you.
What's up, guys?
Hey.
Look, we've been feeling very nostalgic about this show, given that it is its final season. And with that, we wanted to ask you, just to kind of kick things off here, looking back at the series, do you have a favorite episode or moment that stands out as a defining example of what if was set out to accomplish?
Yeah, I mean, that's like such an unfair question to choose your favorite moment or episode in an anthology.
Right.
But I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a favorite moment. And it is when Infinity Ultron hears the Watcher.
Mm-hmm.
It is like, it doesn't matter how many times I watch that, it gives me chills every time. I remember when we cracked that in the room and all kind of looking at each other being like, this is like the greatest thing.
Yeah, it was like fourth wall breaking, right?
Totally.
Yeah,
Totally.
it was. Yeah,
It reminds me of I don't know if you guys are Grant Morrison fans, but when Animal Man broke the fourth wall in that comic book, like that was kind of the inspiration for that moment in a lot of ways.
That's really cool.
So Animal Man confirmed as a random cameo this season, maybe? We don't know.
Oh man, I wish.
I'm
all about the crossover.
That's it. That's it. Well, speaking of crossover, I mean, given the focus on the multiverse in the larger MCU, did you ever feel the need to align this series more closely with the events happening within the live action story, or was the goal always to keep this story more of a standalone exploration?
Well, we always looked at it as it's an anthology first and foremost, but that it would have an overarching narrative, especially when it comes to Uatu and his story as the Watcher and his struggle. And even though all three seasons culminate by the finish line, it is a slow burn and kind of keeps that anthological element of the story throughout. But if you look at the final episodes of each season as kind of a Watcher, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, I think it does stand alone as a Watcher story.
Yeah.
And in terms of tying to the MCU, like we do follow very closely the mythology that's being set up for the multiverse as the MCU unfolds, whether it's kind of the revelation that the multiverse exists, or the idea that it's all now harnessed by Loki sitting in the center of the multiversal tree of stories, or as will be revealed over time, why this was the perfect moment to culminate What If in its third season.
That's awesome. That definitely has me excited. Now, look, Marvel Television has expanded its storytelling through episodic content, and it's introducing new stories, characters, with greater depth that in some instances it offers more depth than film might allow at times. With the shift to television, what has that taught Marvel Studios as a whole about storytelling and connecting with audiences?
We've learned so much. I think that's been, we've learned more in the last few years making television than, any era in the studio. It's been the learning curve has been very steep for us. Not just because of how we tell stories, but also the changing landscape and the medium of making television, especially in the streaming era, which is quite different than when we were making, shows for ABC and Netflix. Um, uh, and when you look at especially, let's just look at the last two shows, X-Men 97 and Agatha All Along. These are like kind of, they're playing at the edge of our fandom. They're targeting like very specific parts of the people that love this stuff, and from there, it's blossoming out into the greater culture, into the greater fan base, um, as opposed to trying to make like, movies on television that speak to four quadrants, right away. I kind of feel like, I just always think about the end of Avengers Endgame being, the biggest achievement, of any of our careers, and just a milestone in film in general, and such a like a moment that is, who knows if we'll ever see it again, and it's impossible to recreate perhaps, but on a mass scale, especially on a television show. But can we create that feeling for like one person? Can we create that feeling for like a portion of the fan base,
Mm.
and if we can do that, then we've done our job, I think. And then it'll grow from there. I think you know, then it'll make people kind of feel that love and joy that they do whenever we hit those high moments in what we do.
You had a great year with X-Men 97 and Agatha, and more to come, obviously, with What If as well. But yeah, I totally agree with that sentiment. It's really about kind of understanding the expectations of what each of these shows are meant to do in alignment with what's already been done, and still giving fans like little more interest in different pockets.
Now, speaking of milestones, Marvel Animation has been killing it on the TV side. Like, obviously, we're big fans of X-Men 97, but even like with like I Am Groot and different stories like that, I want to know, because I think this could be a really good milestone. Is when is the day going to come when we get to see the Marvel Animation banner on a theater screen?
We talk about it. I think it's just about having a property that is a film. I think one of the things we've learned, going back to your previous question, a film to me, it's 2 hours. It's like a statement. You're buying a ticket. You're sitting in a theater. You're with a crowd. It's a giant screen that's dominating you, and it is something to say to the world. You get 2 hours to do it. Versus a television show, which is a longer form, it's like more of a conversation with the audience. First of all, there's more people go into making it. Usually it's a bigger ensemble. There's more of a call and response, I think. And if you're lucky enough to make subsequent seasons, there certainly is. I mean, believe me, as we're working on X-Men 97 season 2, we are listening to the feedback from season 1, as we did with What If, and I think it's just a huge opportunity television has. And that to me is kind of that's going to be the thing that tells us whether or not it should be a movie. Like, is this something that, like, this is definitely this world, this character, this moment, this is a story that is going to be best told in 2 hours like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. You got to find the right story that makes sense for the big screen. Because the stories that you've been telling, obviously on the smaller screen and the streaming, it's making sense. It's having a conversation, like you're saying, with the audience. And again, with 2025 on the horizon, we talked about 2024 being amazing. You guys got some serious stuff on the TV slate next year. How do you feel that these projects are going to continue to evolve the way Marvel tells stories?
It's the film slate, the television slate in 2025 is like very it's varied in an incredible way. It's like it's kind of, it feels to me like walking into the comic book store and being able to choose between a dark Batman comic, or like a bright Superman comic, or an X-Men comic that's like talking about the world around you, or a Thor comic, which is heightened fantasy, otherworldly escapism. That's what the slate feels like to me. It kind of shows the breadth of the Marvel universe in a really great way. You know, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man comes out in January, and that is like a fun Spider-Man story back to his comic book roots in high school, ensemble piece, and then it's followed right up by Daredevil, which is this like dark as hell grounded crime story in New York. There's really something for everyone this year.
Awesome. That has us very excited, and we love that idea of just kind of, everything feeling different from one another to give, again, another a breadth of what the MCU is looking like.
Well, Brad, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us on the Geekcentric podcast. We were absolutely thrilled with being able to just talk to you. And I'm also thrilled, just coming into this, my co-host was saying I have too much stuff in my room. And I'm so thrilled to see that Brad Winderbaum is just like me.
His is organized, though. His looks unpresented, scattered.
More organized than it seems, believe me. I'm kind of drowning in it at this point.
Awesome. Thank you, man. And have a happy holidays.
Happy holidays, man.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, you guys.
Cheers.
Take it easy.